Hi guys, this is Franco Tenelli and this is Science of Singing. Before watching this program, I'd recommend you to watch my 3 types of Appoggio, available here on YouTube. Now in this program I'm going to talk and demonstrate in the end of the program different types of Appoggio and even one type of non-Appoggio that is very important, so-called white sound. Appoggio technique may sound different depending on the types, first, second and third, and that's why I recommend you to watch my 3 types of Appoggio to understand what I'm talking now. But it has something in common. One timbral voice production without forcing. Falsetto singers use first type where singer leans upon his vocal cords to keep his throat open and resonant. Classical singer generally uses second type, where more intense sound cannot be managed by leaning upon vocal cords only. Classical voice needs another mechanism to reduce the vocal folds tension. That mechanism is a diaphragm. Dramatic opera singer needs third type of Appoggio, where diaphragm is very strong and capable to produce even more compressed sound necessary for big projection and higher notes. I have to tell you that third type of Appoggio has 2 subdivisions, pure Appoggio and covered Appoggio. And let me mention that any Appoggio has this subdivision. The first type, the second type, and the third type. But I'm going to do the covering about the third type because it's most complicated and probably most demanded one. So I have to tell you that the third type of Appoggio has 2 subdivisions, pure Appoggio and covered Appoggio. In pure Appoggio, covering or vowel modification is not necessary because all the manipulation is taken care by support and open throat only. In covered Appoggio, some of the tensions are taken by using vowel modification. If you use covered Appoggio, some vowels change into closer ones, like A turns into O, or even U sometimes. Those who use chiaroscuro sound from the whole range don't need covering unless the diaphragm is too weak to handle it. So-called pure Appoggio is often confused with white sound, open throat sounds without proper support. White sound occurs most often in passaggio and is very dangerous since it gives vocal cords, of course, unnecessary extra tension. When an experienced singer tries to connect his voice to the upper register and doesn't know how to support, his teacher usually recommends to cover that note, like in dalla sua voce or celestai do. If you use covered Appoggio, well, for those who don't know the language, it may even sound like pure Appoggio because temporally it will sound like one register. You can distinguish covered Appoggio only if you know the language well. As you see, the type of Appoggio will depend on the weight of the sound or a necessary projection. There are questions like, who is using Appoggio technique among singers? Well, let me give you a not a simple answer for that. I'm going to give you a controversial answer because by this controversy you will understand the Appoggio much better. Let me bring Di Stefano. Di Stefano uses Appoggio, or used Appoggio rather, of the first and second type. So he knew how to do falsetto and he knew how to oppose with the diaphragm when he was young, and his repertoire was lyric. When he moved to more dramatic roles, he increased his power but failed to support it with Appoggio of the third type that was necessary. His voice suffered consequences, both in quality and longevity. Let's take another great example. Maria Callas used to have an excellent Appoggio third type and later moved to bel canto roles which required Appoggio of a second type. That change dissected her voice into 3 registers and she became a very charismatic musical but a placement singer, unfortunately. Those who pay the great attention on the voice quality or technique usually don't like Maria. Those who love thrills of the drama, they adore Maria. But Maria is a different case. I probably make another program about Maria Callas. one cannot move from Appoggio first type to Appoggio third type without passing the second type. If you don't know how to hold the diaphragm straight, of course you won't be able to manipulate with it. So be careful if you're moving from a lighter to a heavier, like in Di Stefano's case, or from heavier to lighter, like Maria Callas did. That explains why dramatic role should be taken before singer at least 35 years old and has to have at least 10 years of operatic experience. Then you might have a question. Why some singers today sing dramatic under 30 years of age? Many reasons. You better ask them. But if you ask me, my take on it is, first, unwise planning of your future career. Second, unable to refuse certain offers. Political decision. Being risky, liking dramatic roles actually. But, adoring dramatic roles, some use technology that takes away the projection problems and lets them sing in a lighter styles pretending to be dramatic. Those voices are usually woofy and would never project through dramatic roles acoustically, but with mics they are all Othellos, but in reality Nemorinos. But really, very few singers among those who use the Appoggio wrong type will stay long enough on the operatic stage. It's very difficult to say from the recordings if a singer uses second type or the third type, because they both produce chiaro-scuro tones and it's just a voice volume that distinguishes them. During the recordings, mics have compressive quality and equalize the power. I'll give you an example. Del Monaco was an Italian dramatic tenor. In recording, he sounded like a full, bright lyric tenor. In fact, he was one of the most powerful voices planet ever had. Now, another example. Bonisoli, Franco Bonisoli. In record sounds like dramatic, or at least lirico-drammatico. In fact, was a full lyric voice with dark timbre. Gilli was a pure lyric voice, but even he sounds quite dramatic in some records. Gilli himself was absolutely aware of what kind of voice he had, so he didn't fool around with it. Now, I will show you in one sample some phrases, all three types of Appoggio, including covered Appoggio, and another white sound. White sound is not Appoggio, of course, but it is interesting to hear in comparison with Appoggio sounds. So let's start. First one. Here we sing with the Appoggio technique called sul fiato senza diafragma. In human words, is singing falsetto. Celeste Aida.
Celeste Aida, Celeste Aida.
So here we have Appoggio second type, meaning that the diaphragm is passively opposing to create chiaroscuro sound. Throat is also open, but the volume of the voice is not that big. The volume, if you ask me, this type of volume cannot be used in such a role as Radames. It's more of a Nemorino type, a very lyric type of a tenor, but nevertheless, the technique that is shown here is Appoggio second type. Now, we have another type of Appoggio, which is a covered Appoggio. A covering is modification of the vowel. It's a confusive term because teachers, as I always say, they use their own terms. Anyways, this one is Appoggio of a third type with Celeste Aido. So that means that it's a covered third type, but it's a covered Appoggio, and it sounds like that. Appoggio of the third type is the pure Appoggio. It's the best Appoggio you can have. You can sing with pure, of course it's round vowels. Don't mix the chiaroscuro sound with the white sound, because you can hear that the white sound is an open throat sound, but unfortunately without the support, and it sounds strangled. That's why you need to have a clear distinction between these two. And that's why I am showing you in this particular example the white sound production. It's not appoggio, of course, because it's not supported and, to my point, is ugly. But this is one of the type that some people confuse open throat with the white sound. It's not the same thing. The difference lies in the color itself. It's a chiaro-scuro sound is always round. Chiaro-scuro sound is always round, but it's not modifying. You don't modify A to U when you sing with a pure appoggio, but you keep all the vowels round. Thank you very much. Until next time.
Celestia Ida, Celestia Ida, Celestia Ida.